Late 2008. The global financial system is in free fall. This headline captured a moment where markets were erasing trillions of dollars of established wealth in a matter of days. At this same moment, Elon Musk was weeks away from personal bankruptcy. He was borrowing money from friends to cover his rent while sleeping on the floor of his offices. Both Tesla and SpaceX were bleeding cash so quickly that the financial press ran regular death watches to track their expected failure. The markets assumed his collapse was inevitable. During a global recession, capital-intensive startups building orbital rockets and electric cars are historically the first to be wiped out. By December, his liquid net worth had dwindled to exactly $30 million. Both of his companies were days away from missing payroll. His advisors presented standard logic: consolidate, liquidate one company to guarantee the survival of the other, minimizing risk. But he rejected the safe path, splitting the capital down the middle, $15 million to Tesla, $15 million to SpaceX, effectively doubling his risk of total failure. By refusing to sacrifice one mission to ensure his own financial safety, he established a precedent that would define his career. Personal wealth is not the goal, but a resource to be entirely consumed for the sake of the mission. That same tolerance for extreme failure carried Tesla through its early years, as it attempted to build mass-market electric vehicles against a century of internal combustion dominance. During the most difficult phase of Model 3 manufacturing, Musk moved his desk to the factory floor. He spent months sleeping at the facility to personally identify and clear engineering bottlenecks on the assembly line. He introduced the Idiot Index, a framework that compared the final cost of a part to the cost of its raw materials. If a supplier was charging 10 times the price of base aluminum, Musk would redesign and manufacture it in-house. The sheer volume of Tesla's production eventually made electric vehicles viable at scale. This pressure forced the global auto industry to abandon their existing platforms and pivot their entire business models to compete. Tesla demonstrated that applying first principles engineering to physical manufacturing could overwrite even the most entrenched industry paradigms. Before SpaceX, orbital exploration was an inefficient monopoly held by national governments using disposable, one-time-use rockets. Musk applied his three-step algorithm: question, delete, and simplify to aerospace engineering. The result was the first orbital-class rocket capable of landing and flying again. Today, the Star Factory is scaling towards rapid production of the Starship, supported by massive Starlink spectrum deals that monetize this planetary infrastructure. SpaceX has successfully transitioned the space sector from a money-burning government project into a profitable, privately owned logistical network. The lens is now expanding beyond transportation to target the physical and biological limits of the human species itself. This includes the push into automated labor through the development of Optimus, using robotic symmetry and AI to handle physical tasks previously reserved for humans. Simultaneously, he is scaling digital intelligence with xAI's Colossus 2 and using Neuralink to bridge the human brain with computer interfaces, aiming to restore blind sight and reanimate paralyzed limbs. Managing these frontier technologies requires bridging radically different silos, from neurobiology to orbital mechanics, that typically operate in isolation. This level of cross-domain oversight functions well outside the specialization found in a traditional corporate structure. The ventures have transitioned from separate hardware companies into an interconnected engine designed to evolve human capability alongside artificial intelligence. To understand the macroeconomic impact of these interconnected successes, we have to look back at the history of extreme wealth in America. The 19th century Gilded Age created the first massive industrial fortunes, centered on the oil monopolies of John D. Rockefeller. The software revolution of the 1980s marked the next leap, ushering in the era of the modern tech billionaire. This chart shows the massive mathematical gap between a billion and a trillion. If his hardware, space, and AI ventures continue to scale, Musk is positioned to become the first individual to ever cross that threshold. A fortune of this scale would dwarf the gross domestic product of entire sovereign nations, marking a new chapter in global economics. The irony remains that the person on track for this financial milestone is the same one who actively chose to risk total ruin in 2008. Unprecedented wealth was never the primary objective. It is simply the economic byproduct of solving the highest utility problems for humanity at maximum speed. Achieving monumental success does not come from playing it safe or acting within the boundaries of conventional caution. History-making progress requires the audacity to bet everything on a vision the rest of the world dismisses as impossible. True innovation demands an absolute willingness to embrace total failure.